Hello everyone, this is Siddiq Rahman and welcome to the first class of the third week. So let's start. By the end of this lecture, you guys will be able to describe logic gates and its classification. And this slide represents the overall scenario of this lecture. You guys may know from this lecture about logic gates and what is the symbol of logic gate, or you can say how looks alike logic gate, what are the applications of logic gate, what is the disadvantages and advantages logic gate, what are the classification or categorization logic gate, and so on. So let's start with the overview of logic gate. A logic gate is a basic building block of a digital circuit that has two inputs and one output. The relationship between the input and the output is based on a certain logic. These gates are implemented using electronic switches such as transistors, diodes. But in practice, basic logic gates are built using CMOS technology, FETs, and MOSFETs. Logic gates are used in microprocessors, microcontrollers, embedded system applications, and in electronic and electrical project circuits. And figure 1 represent the basic, or you can say the schematic diagram of logic gate. And already we know that from the first paragraph that logic gate has two inputs generally and one output, which is already, or you can say which is represented in figure 1. And there are three words in the first paragraph such as CMOS, FETs, and MOSFET. What are the full form of these words? So let's check it out. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. FET stands for field effect transistor, and the last one is MOSFET, which stands for metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. From this slide, we may learn what is transistor and which is already found in the previous slide. So let's start with the definition. A transistor is a semiconductor device used to amplify or switch electronic signals and electrical power. It is composed of semiconductor material, usually with at least three terminals named as emitter, collector, base for connection to an external circuit. Figure 2 represent the symbol of transistor, and already we know that transistor has three terminals such as emitter, collector, as well as base. And from this slide we may know, or we may learn the practical symbol of transistor. And in previous slide, or from previous slide, we already learned there are three terminals of a transistor such as emitter, base, and collector, which is already designated or symbolized in this figure also. So let's move on. From this slide we may learn what is diode and the symbols of diode. So let's start with the definition. A diode is a two-terminal electronic component that conducts current primarily in one direction, asymmetric conductance. It has low, ideally zero, resistance in one direction and high, ideally infinite resistance in the other. Figure 4 represents the schematic representation of diode symbol, and this has two sides. One is anode, sorry, I repeat again, one is anode, which is positive charge, and another one is cathode, which is negative charge. So let's move into the next slide. From this slide we may learn the symbol of diodes. One is p-n junction representation and another one is practical diode symbol. And already we learned the schematic symbol of diode, and figure 5 represents the p-n junction representation of diode. And if you see, there are 3 regions. One region for p-type and middle one for depletion region, and most right one is for n-type material. And if you notice, or you can, sorry, I repeat again, if you look at the figure 6, then you will find the practical symbols of diode. And you can see there is a stripe marks cathode. The right side of the stripe designated or symbolized as cathode, and the left side of that designated as anode. So let's move into the next slide. Well, from this slide we may know the symbols of logic gate. So let's start. There are 2 series of symbols for logic gates. The traditional symbols have distinctive shapes, making them easy to recognize. They are widely used in industry and education. The IEC. What is IEC? IEC stands for International Electrotechnical Commission. Symbols are rectangles with a symbol inside to show the gate function. They are rarely used despite their official status, but you may need to know them for an examination. And you guys see from figure number 7, 2 types of symbols are already placed for logic gate. One is traditional and another one is IEC symbol, which stands for International Electrotechnical Commission. And now from this slide we may learn some of the application of logic gate. So let's start. Number 1, NAND gates are used in burglar alarms and buzzers. Next one, they are basically used in circuits involving computation and processing. Next one, they are also used in push button switches such as doorbells. Next one, they are used in the functioning of street lights. Next, AND gates are used to enable or inhibit the data transfer function. Last, they are also used in TTL. TTL stands for transistor logic and CMOS circuitry. Now, time to learn some advantages as well as disadvantages of logic gates. So let's start with the advantages one. Number 1, logical operations are performed using Boolean algebra, which makes the circuit design more economical and simple. Next one, logic 1 and logic 0 can be easily distinguished. As we already know that this slide represents advantages as well as disadvantages of logic gate. We already covered the advantages section and now move into the disadvantages section. So let's start. Number 1, operating voltage is limited. And next one is time delay occurs between input and output. From this slide we may learn the classification, or you can say the categorization of the logic gate or basic logic gate, such as AND gate, OR gate, XOR gate, NAND gate, NOR gate, XNOR gate and NOT gate. And these gates are most familiar. That's why we say in first the basic logic gates are categorized into 7. So let's move into the next slide. Now we may learn from this slide about the AND gate. So let's start. The AND gate is a digital logic gate with n inputs and 1 output, which perform logical conjunction based on the combination of its inputs. the output of this gate is true means 1 only when all the inputs are true. When one or more inputs of the AND gates inputs are false, which means 0, then only the output of the AND gate is false. And figure 8 represents the symbol of AND gate. One is traditional and another one is IEC symbol. So let's move. From this slide, we may know the truth table of the AND gate. And there is another thing I have to mention. This AND gate have 2 inputs. So let's start. Inputs are designated or symbolized by 2 English alphabet. One is alphabet A and another one is alphabet B. And the output of AND gate is A and B, which is close to the mathematical operation of or mathematical operation multiplication. But sorry, I repeat, which is close to the multiplication operator of mathematics. So let's start. Since the inputs number is 2, then we may choose 0 and 1. Then the combination will be 4. One is 0 0, another one is 0 1, another one is 1 0, and the last one is 1 1. And after that we get the output 0 0 0 and 1. Well, now a question may arise in your mind: what is truth table? Before going to the overview of truth table, we may learn some of the application, or we may learn the application of AND gate. So let's start. There are mainly 2 applications of AND gate, such as enable gate and inhibit gate. We already know this fact. Enable gate means allowance of data through a channel, and inhibit gate is just the reverse of that process, that is disallowance of data through a channel. We are going to show an enabling operation to understand it in an easier way. Suppose in the measurement of frequency of a pulsed waveform, for measurement of frequency, a gating pulse of known frequency is sent to enable the passage of the waveform whose frequency is to be measured. The diagram below shows the arrangement of the above explained operation. Well, figure 9 represents the enable operation of AND gate, or you can say one of the applications of AND gate. Well, let's move into the next slide. Now, from this slide, we may learn about one of our question, which is what is truth table. A truth table is a good way to show the function of a logic gate. It shows the output states for every possible combination of input states. The symbols 0, which means or which is equivalent to false, and 1, which is equivalent to true, are usually used in truth tables. In the next lecture, you guys will know about the overview of OR gate, XOR gate, and NAND gate. So that's all for this lecture, and thank you so much for your attention. See you guys in the next lecture. Thank you.